The moment humans say, "I'll handle it," the war ends before it starts. Part 1, the soft beep of the detection system broke the quiet of the night shift. Dr. Allison Wright looked up from her coffee, suddenly alert. It was 3:17 a.m. at the Interstellar Communications Center in Nevada, and most of her colleagues had gone home hours ago. "Computer, identify signal source," she said, moving quickly to her workstation. The computer responded in its neutral voice. "Signal origin, HD 219134 star system. Signal type unknown. Pattern suggests artificial construction." Allison's heart raced. After 15 years of scanning the stars for signs of intelligent life, they had found something. She tapped her communication badge. "Director Kelly, this is Wright. I need you to come down to the lab immediately." Within an hour, the quiet lab had transformed into a hive of activity. Scientists and government officials crowded around screens displaying the strange signal patterns. Director Kelly stood next to Allison, his face a mixture of excitement and concern. "What are we looking at, Dr. Wright?" Allison pointed to the screen. "The signal contains mathematical sequences that couldn't occur naturally. Prime numbers, the value of pi, and what appears to be language patterns. It's a first contact situation." "Sir?" The room fell silent at her words. "How long before you can decode it?" asked the director. "Days, maybe weeks," Allison replied. "But the signal was sent directly at Earth. They know we're here." 3 weeks later, Allison stood before the United Earth Security Council. The room was filled with the most powerful people on the planet, all waiting to hear what she had discovered. "The signal is from a species that calls themselves the Vantari," she explained. "They claim to be a peaceful, spacefaring civilization. They want to meet us at the edge of our solar system in 6 months." The council chamber erupted with voices. Admiral Diane Foster, head of the United Earth Space Command, raised her hand for silence. "Do we believe them?" she asked. Allison chose her words carefully. "They've shared technological information as a show of good faith. Our scientists confirm the physics are sound. They appear to be significantly more advanced than we are." "Or, they want us to think they are," said Admiral Foster. "What else do we know about them? They say they're running from something called the Krell Dominion, a hostile empire that has been pursuing them across the galaxy." The council debated long into the night. By morning, they had made their decision. Earth would send a diplomatic mission to meet the Vantari. The UESC flagship Sentinel would lead the mission, with Captain Greg Howard in command. Captain Howard stood on the bridge of the Sentinel, looking out at the stars. At 42, he had never expected to be the first human to officially meet aliens. He turned as Dr. Wright entered the bridge. "Dr. Wright, welcome aboard. I hope your quarters are comfortable." Allison nodded. "Thank you, Captain. And please call me Allison." "Then I'm Greg," he replied with a small smile. "We'll reach the meeting point in 6 hours. Are you ready?" "As ready as anyone can be to meet aliens," she said. "But something doesn't feel right. The Vantari have been very specific about certain details while being vague about others." Greg had learned to trust his instincts during his years in space. "Like what?" "They've told us exactly how to adjust our communications to speak with them, but they've been unclear about their own history, or why the Krell are chasing them." "Keep digging," said Greg. "I want to know who we're really meeting out here." The Sentinel arrived at the edge of the solar system, right on schedule. The diplomatic team waited nervously on the bridge, watching empty space. Then, without warning, a massive shape appeared before them. "My God," breathed Greg. The Vantari ship was enormous, at least 20 times the size of the Sentinel. It looked like a giant silver leaf, thin and curved, with soft light glowing along its edges. "They've just dropped out of some kind of faster-than-light travel," reported Lieutenant Ben Owens from the science station. "No warning, no distortion effects. Our sensors didn't even see them coming." "Open communications," ordered Greg. Tendera. Main screen flickered to life, revealing a strange sight. The Vantari looked almost like tall, thin humans, but with pale blue skin and large, almond-shaped eyes that seemed to glow from within. "Greetings, people of Earth," said the Vantari in perfect English. "I am Ambassador Zeril. We are pleased to make your acquaintance." Greg stepped forward. I am Captain Greg Howard of the United Earth Space Command. We welcome you to our solar system. The formal introductions continued, with Allison and the diplomatic team taking over. After several hours of talks, the Vantari invited a small group to board their vessel. I don't like it, said Greg when they were alone again. It feels too easy. Their ship could destroy us without effort, said Allison. If they wanted to harm us, why bother with diplomacy? Greg nodded reluctantly. Prepare the shuttle. You, me, and 2 security officers. The inside of the Vantari ship was even more impressive than the outside. The walls seemed to glow with soft light, and the corridors curved gently in ways that made sense only after you walked through them. Ambassador Zarel led them to a large room with a view of space. We have been traveling. For many years, explained Zarel. The Krell Dominion destroyed our home system. We are the last of our kind seeking refuge. How many Krell ships are following you? Asked Greg. A small fleet, perhaps 20 vessels. But the Krell never give up a chase. They will be here within months. Allison studied the Vantari carefully. Why did they attack you? The Krell believe all other intelligent life must either serve them or be eliminated. They see the universe as theirs by right. Zarel turned to look directly at Greg. We had hoped to find sanctuary here, but we understand if you wish us to leave. The Krell will come regardless. They have detected your civilization. Greg felt a chill run down his spine. Are you saying Earth is in danger whether we help you or not? I regret to say yes. The Krell do not negotiate or show mercy. Later, back on the Sentinel, Greg called an emergency meeting with his senior staff and, Allison, thoughts? He asked the room. Lieutenant Peter Collins, the ship's intelligence officer, spoke first. Their story makes sense on the surface, but something feels wrong. They're too perfect, too helpful. Allison nodded. I've been analyzing their language, patterns. There are inconsistencies, places where they seem to be following a script rather than speaking naturally. You think they're lying? Asked Greg. Not lying exactly, said Allison, but not telling us everything. That night, Allison couldn't sleep. She went back to the communications lab and began reviewing the original Vantari signal again. After hours of work, she found it, a hidden data stream buried within the main signal. When Greg arrived the next morning, Allison was waiting for him, her eyes red from lack of sleep. The Vantari aren't refugees, she said without preamble. And the Krell aren't chasing them, at least, not the way they described. Greg sat down. Explain. I found hidden information in their original signal. The Vantari are scouts for their own empire. They're looking for new worlds to colonize. She pushed a datapad toward him. And this is what I found in their ships. Transmission logs. They're reporting back to their fleet, not running from one. Greg studied the data. What about the Krell? They're real, but the relationship is different. The Krell and Vantari are competing empires. The Vantari want to use us as a buffer against the Krell, or worse, as cannon fodder in their war. Greg stood up. We need to get this information back to Earth immediately. He looked out at the Vantari ship shimmering against the blackness of space. And we need to figure out what to do about our new friends out there. Allison looked up. At him, fear and determination mixed in her expression. Whatever happens next, Earth is now caught between 2 alien powers, both with technology far beyond our own. Greg nodded grimly. Then we better get smart fast, because one way or another, everything changes from this moment on. The moment humans say, I'll handle it, the war ends before it starts, Part 2. The news from the Sentinel spread quickly through Earth's leadership. Within hours, Admiral Diane Foster had called an emergency meeting in the war room beneath Mount Ya, Cheyenne. The underground UESC headquarters buzzed with activity as military leaders and scientists gathered around the large central table. Captain Howard, repeat what you told me, Admiral Foster said, her voice steady despite the tension in the room. Greg's face appeared on the main screen, the Sentinel still positioned near the massive Vantari ship. Dr. Wright discovered hidden messages in the Vantari communications. They aren't refugees, they're scouts for their own empire, and they want to use Earth as a pawn in their conflict with the Krell. The room erupted in angry voices until Admiral Foster raised her hand. "Dr. Wright, what else have you learned?" Allison stepped forward beside Greg in the video feed. "The Vantari plan is simple but clever. They want us to fight the Krell for them. If we win, we'll be weakened and easy for them to conquer. If we lose, the Krell will have spent resources that the Vantari can avoid spending." Lieutenant Peter Collins spoke up from his position at the data terminal. "We've analyzed their technical data more carefully. They've been feeding us just enough advanced technology to make us dependent on them, but not enough to truly defend ourselves." "What do you suggest?" asked Admiral Foster. "We need to confront them," said Greg. "Let them know we're aware of their deception." Admiral Foster nodded. "Return to Earth immediately. Leave the diplomatic team on the Vantari ship for now. We need time to prepare." 2 days later, the Sentinel docked at Earth's orbital station. Greg and Allison were immediately transported to UESC headquarters, where Admiral Foster waited with her senior staff. "The situation has changed," said Admiral Foster when they arrived. "The Vantari ambassador has requested a meeting with Earth's leadership. They're claiming they have urgent news about the Krell." "They know we're onto them," said Greg. "Possibly," agreed the Admiral. "Or something else has happened. Either way, we need to be ready." The meeting was set for the next day at the neutral ground of the orbital diplomatic station. Admiral Foster led the Earth delegation, with Greg, Allison, and Lieutenant Collins providing support. Ambassador Zarel arrived with 2 other Vantari. Their blue skin seemed to shimmer under the station's lights, their large eyes showing no emotion. "Thank you for meeting with us," began Zarel. "We have detected a Krell fleet entering your star system. They will arrive within 3 weeks." Admiral Foster's expression didn't change. "That's interesting, Ambassador, especially since we now know your people aren't running from the Krell. You're competing with them." For the first time, the Vantari showed surprise. Zarel's eyes widened, slightly before he regained his composure. "I see you have discovered more than we anticipated," said Zarel. "Yes, the Vantari Empire and the Krell Dominion are rivals. But that doesn't change the fact that the Krell are coming, and they represent a grave threat to your world." "Why should we trust anything you say now?" asked Greg. Zarel tilted his head. "Because despite our incomplete disclosure, our interests align. The Krell will destroy your civilization if they can. They see all other life as resources to be harvested or eliminated." Admiral Foster leaned forward. "And what do the Vantari see us as?" "Potential allies if you prove worthy," said Zarel without hesitation. "Or subjects if you do not." The blunt honesty surprised them all. "At least now." "We're talking honestly," said Admiral Foster. "What exactly do you propose?" "An alliance against the Krell. We will provide defensive technology for your planet. In return, your ships will join ours in battle." Lieutenant Collins spoke for the first time. "So human lives in exchange for Vantari technology?" "A fair exchange," said Zarel. "Without our help, you have no chance against the Krell." Admiral Foster stood up. "We need to discuss this privately." Once the Earth delegation was alone, Admiral Foster turned to the others. "Opinions?" "They're still manipulating us," said Allison. "Just more openly now." "But they're right about one thing," said Greg. "If the Krell are coming, we need help." "What if we reached out to the Krell directly?" suggested Lieutenant Collins. "The Vantari clearly fear them. Maybe we can negotiate separately." "That's risky," said Admiral Foster. "But it might give us leverage." They debated for another hour before reaching a decision. When they returned, Admiral Foster addressed Zarel directly. "We accept your offer of defensive technology, but our ships will remain to defend Earth. We will not be drawn into your larger conflict." Zarel's eyes narrowed. "You misunderstand your position. This is not a negotiation. Either you ally with us completely, or we will consider you aligned with the Krell." "Is that a threat, Ambassador?" asked Admiral Foster calmly. "It is reality," replied Zarel. "Choose wisely." After the meeting, Admiral Foster gathered her team in the secure room of the station. "They've shown their true colors," she said. "We need to prepare for the possibility of fighting both alien forces. Back on Earth, the military prepared for the coming conflict. Orbital defense platforms were activated, and civilian populations began moving to underground shelters. The Vantari ship remained at the edge of the solar system, watching. A week later, advanced sensor arrays detected the approaching Krell fleet. They were still 2 weeks away, but the images showed at least 15 massive warships. Admiral Foster called an emergency meeting with her top engineers and scientists. "We need options," she said. "Something they won't expect." One of the scientists spoke up. "There's an engineer, Sam Martinez. He's been developing an experimental shield technology. It's not ready for deployment, but the theory is sound." "Get him here," ordered Admiral Foster. Sam Martinez arrived at UESC headquarters 12 hours later. He was younger than Admiral Foster expected, only in his mid-30s, with tired eyes and rumpled clothes that suggested he had been working non-stop. "Mr. Martinez, I understand you have a shield system that might help us," said Admiral Foster. Sam nodded. "It's based on phase-shifting energy fields. The idea is to create a bubble that can absorb and redirect energy attacks." "Will it work against the alien weapons?" asked Greg. "I don't know," admitted Sam. "We've never tested it against anything like what they might have." "How long would it take to deploy?" asked Admiral Foster. Sam thought for a moment. "To cover the entire planet? Weeks, maybe months. But we could protect key installations within days if we focus our resources." "And the chances of success?" Pressed Admiral Foster, Sam looked at the images of the approaching Krell fleet and the waiting Vantari ship. Then he straightened his shoulders and met the Admiral's gaze. "I can't promise it'll work," he said, "but I'll handle it." "Something in his voice made them all believe him. "Get whatever resources you need," said Admiral Foster. As the others filed out, Lieutenant Collins approached Allison. "I've been analyzing the communications between the Vantari and the Krell," he said quietly. "There's something strange. They use different languages but similar communication protocols." Allison's eyes widened. "Are you saying they're related? Somehow?" "I don't know," said Peter, "but it might give us an advantage. If we can understand their communications better, maybe we can find a weakness." "Let's work with Sam," said Allison. "Maybe his shield technology and our communications analysis can be combined somehow." As they left to join Sam's team, Greg watched them go, feeling a small spark of hope for the first time since the aliens had arrived. Outside the solar system, the Krell fleet moved closer, their massive ships like dark shadows against the stars. And on Earth, humanity prepared for a war, unlike any they had ever faced. The moment humans say, "I'll handle it," the war ends before it starts. Part 3. The Lunar Research Facility hummed with activity as Sam Martinez explained his shield technology to Admiral Foster and the gathered scientists. The large screen showed diagrams of Earth with a thin blue bubble surrounding it. "The shield works by creating a phase shift in energy," Sam explained, his hands moving as he talked. "When enemy weapons hit it, the shield absorbs the energy and redirects it." "Like a mirror?" asked Admiral Foster. "More like a river changing direction," said Sam. "We don't reflect the energy back, we channel it away." Dr. Allison Wright studied the diagrams carefully. "Could we use this technology on our ships too?" Sam nodded. "On a smaller scale, yes. But there's a problem. The power requirements are enormous. To shield the entire Earth, we'd need more energy than all our power plants combined." "What about just shielding our major cities and military bases?" suggested Greg. "That we could do," said Sam. "But it would leave most of the planet exposed." Admiral Foster looked grim. "How long until the shields are ready?" "The first test will be in 48 hours, said Sam. "If it works, we can start deploying the system immediately." "We'll be cutting it close," said Lieutenant Collins. "The Krell will reach our outer defenses in 10 days. Admiral Foster turned to Allison and Peter. "What about your communication analysis? Have you found anything useful?" Allison nodded excitedly. "We have. The Vantari and Krell use different languages, but their basic communication systems are nearly identical. It's like they're speaking different languages over the same phone system." "What does that mean for us?" asked Admiral Foster. Peter stepped forward. It means we might be able to disrupt their communications, maybe even feed them false information. Or, added Allison, we could potentially listen in on their communications with each other. A spark of hope appeared in Admiral Foster's eyes. Keep working on it. This could be the advantage we need. In space, Captain Greg Howard piloted a small stealth ship near the Vantari vessel. His mission was dangerous but crucial. Plant monitoring. Devices on the alien ship to gather intelligence. Approaching Vantari ship, Greg whispered into his comm system. No sign they've detected me. The Vantari ship was massive, its silver surface reflecting the distant sun. Greg guided his craft to a small maintenance port he had identified during his previous visits. I'm attaching the first probe now, he reported. The small device, no larger than a coin, attached to the Vantari hull with a soft magnetic pulse. It immediately began transmitting data back to Earth. First probe is active, confirmed the voice of Lieutenant Collins in his ear. We're receiving data. Greg planted 4 more probes at different points on the ship before beginning his retreat. As he pulled away, he felt a moment of tension when the Vantari ship's lights brightened suddenly, but they gave no other sign of detecting him. Returning to base, he said with relief. Mission accomplished. Back on Luna, Sam's team worked day and night to prepare the shield system. The first test would take place on a small dome covering one of the lunar research buildings. Power systems online, reported one of the engineers. Shield generators active, said another. Sam took a deep breath. Initiate shield. A soft blue glow appeared around the test building, shimmering like water in sunlight. Shield is stable, said Sam with growing excitement. Prepare the test weapon. A small laser cannon aimed at the shield. When it fired, the energy beam struck the blue field and seemed to flow around it before dissipating harmlessly. It worked, shouted one of the younger engineers. Sam allowed himself a small smile. One test passed. Now we need to see if it works against alien weapons. The chance to test against alien technology came sooner than expected. The advanced sensor arrays suddenly lit up with warnings. Multiple ships detected, reported the sensor operator at UESC headquarters. They've appeared at the edge of the solar system. Admiral Foster rushed to the command center. The Krell? Yes, ma'am. 15 warships approaching fast. They're ahead of schedule, said Admiral Foster. Alert all defense forces and get me Captain Howard. Greg was halfway back to Earth when he received the alert. From his position, he could see the Krell fleet emerging from what looked like tears in space itself. I have visual confirmation, he reported. The Krell ships are enormous. The Krell vessels were dark, angular shapes, like mountain ranges floating through space. Even the smallest was larger than anything humans had built. What are the Vantari doing? Asked Admiral Foster. Greg turned his sensors toward the Vantari ship. They're moving to intercept the Krell. It looks like they're preparing for battle. Within minutes, space lit up with energy as the 2 alien fleets engaged. Beams of light connected the ships and explosions bloomed like silent flowers against the blackness. The Vantari are attacking the Krell, reported Greg with surprise, and the Krell are responding with full force. Admiral Foster watched the battle unfold on the screens. They're fighting each other instead of us. This gives us time. On Luna, Sam's team worked frantically to adapt their shield technology based on the readings from the alien battle. Look at those energy levels, said Sam in awe. Their weapons are at least 100 times more powerful than anything we have. Allison and Peter joined him, bringing data from their communication analysis. We've intercepted some of their battle communications, said Allison. Both fleets use similar energy frequencies for their weapons and propulsion systems. Sam looked up sharply. Their propulsion systems use the same frequencies? Peter nodded. Similar enough. Why? A look of intense concentration appeared on Sam's face. That might be the key. If their propulsion systems operate on similar principles. He turned to his computer and began typing rapidly. Mathematical equations filled the screen as he worked. What are you thinking? Asked Allison. If we modify the shield technology, said Sam without looking up, We might be able to create a resonance field that disrupts their propulsion systems. Like how a singer can break a glass with the right note, asked Peter. Exactly, said Sam. But instead of breaking glass, we'd be preventing their ships from maneuvering. Allison's eyes widened. Could that work? In theory, said Sam, but we'd need to get very close to their ships to deploy it. The battle between the Vantari and Krell continued for hours. The Vantari fought well, but they were outnumbered. One by one, their smaller ships were destroyed until only their main vessel remained. The Vantari flagship is retreating, reported Greg, who had maintained his observation position. 3 Krell ships have been destroyed, but they still have 12 intact. And now they'll turn their attention to us, said Admiral Foster grimly. At that moment, Sam Martinez burst into the command center, followed by Allison and Peter. Admiral, we have an idea, he said breathlessly. He quickly explained their plan: to create a resonance weapon that could disable the Krell ships. It's untested, warned Sam, and we'd need to get close to deploy it. How close? Asked Admiral Foster. Within a few thousand kilometers, said Sam. Too close for comfort. Admiral Foster considered the options. Earth's defenses were not ready. The shield system could protect some areas, but not the entire planet. The Krell weapons, as demonstrated in their battle with the Vantari, could devastate entire continents. The resonance weapon is our best chance, she decided. How quickly can you build it? We've already started, said Sam. The prototype will be ready in 24 hours. Greg spoke up from the communication screen. My ship can carry the device. I'm already in position, and the Krell haven't detected me. It's too dangerous, protested Allison. Your ship isn't designed for combat. It's designed for stealth, countered Greg. And that's what we need right now. Admiral Foster nodded slowly. Captain Howard returned to Luna immediately to pick up the device. This mission is voluntary. I can't order you to take this risk. Greg's face showed determination. No need for orders, Admiral. I'll handle it. As Greg's ship turned toward Luna, the Krell fleet regrouped after their battle with the Vantari. 12 massive warships now focused entirely on Earth. Sam turned to his team. We have 24 hours to build a device that can stop an alien fleet. Let's get to work. The moment humans say, I'll handle it, the war ends before it starts. Part 4 Captain Greg Howard's ship docked at the lunar facility with barely a sound. The small vessel had been designed for stealth, not combat, but today it would serve as humanity's best hope against the Krell fleet. The resonance device is ready, Sam Martinez said as he guided a team of engineers carrying a metal cylinder about the size of a small refrigerator. We've tested it as much as possible in the time we had. Greg watched as they loaded the device into his ship's cargo hold. Will it work? Sam gave a tired smile. He hadn't slept in 36 hours. The math is solid. The device will create a frequency that should disrupt their propulsion systems, but we've never tested it against actual alien technology. Should, and maybe aren't very comforting words right now, Greg said. It's the best we've got, Sam replied simply. Allison Wright arrived with Lieutenant Peter Collins. She carried a small data drive which she handed to Greg. This contains all the communication frequencies we've recorded from both alien species, she explained. The device is pre-programmed, but this might help if you need to make adjustments. Greg took the drive and looked at the small team of humans who had created this last-ditch weapon. They seemed so ordinary. Tired people in rumpled clothes, with coffee stains and worry lines. Yet they had developed in days what might normally take years. If this works, he said, drinks are on me when I get back. No one mentioned what would happen if he didn't come back. Admiral Foster's voice came through the communication system. Captain Howard, the Krell fleet has changed course. They're heading directly for Earth. Estimated arrival in 6 hours. But leaving now, Greg said. He climbed into his ship and prepared for launch. As the airlock sealed, he saw Allison mouthing words through the glass. Be careful. The small ship detached from the lunar base and accelerated toward the approaching Krell fleet. Greg activated the stealth systems, making the ship nearly invisible to sensors. On Earth, Admiral Foster addressed the world's leaders from the UESC Command Center. The shield system is operational over major population centers, she reported, but it won't stop their most powerful weapons. Our best chance is Captain Howard's mission to deploy the resonance device. And if it fails? Asked one of the leaders. Admiral Foster's face remained calm despite the question. Then we fight with everything we have. In space, Greg's ship approached. The massive Krell fleet. Even with stealth technology, getting close enough to deploy the weapon would be extremely dangerous. I'm approaching the outer perimeter of the Krell formation, Greg reported. No sign they've detected me yet. The Krell ships were unlike anything humans had ever built. Their dark, angular hulls absorbed light rather than reflecting it. Each vessel was covered in what looked like spines or antennae, giving them an almost organic appearance. Greg maneuvered his ship carefully toward the center of the Krell formation. According to Sam, the resonance device would be most effective if deployed there. I'm in position, Greg whispered, though there was no need to whisper in space. Preparing to activate the device. He reached for the activation control, when suddenly, alarms blared throughout his ship. One of the Krell vessels had turned toward him. They've spotted me, Greg reported, his voice steady despite his racing heart. I'm taking evasive action. His small ship darted between the massive Krell vessels. Energy beams sliced through space where he had been moments before. Captain, you need to activate the device now, Admiral Foster urged over the comm. I'm not in the optimal position, Greg replied as he narrowly avoided another energy beam. Any position is better than none if you're destroyed, the Admiral said. Greg nodded to himself. Activating now. He pressed the control and for a moment nothing seemed to happen. Then a soft hum filled his ship as the resonance device powered up. Device is active, he reported, but I don't see any effect on the Krell ships. Back on Luna, Sam watched the sensor readings with growing concern. The frequency isn't strong enough, he needs to boost the power. Any more power could overload his ship's systems, Allison protested. Sam made a quick decision. Captain Howard, reroute power from your engines and life support to the device. It needs more energy. That would leave me stranded, Greg noted, and eventually without air. We'll send a rescue ship, Admiral Foster promised, but the device needs more power now. Without hesitation, Greg began rerouting the ship's power. Diverting power now. The lights in his ship dimmed as energy flowed into the resonance device. The hum grew louder, vibrating through the ship's frame. Power at maximum, Greg reported. The device is... His transmission cut off as a massive energy surge overwhelmed his ship's communication system. On the sensor screens at Lunar Base, they saw a wave of energy expand outward from Greg's position. What's happening? Demanded Admiral Foster. Sam stared at the readings in disbelief. The resonance effect is stronger than we calculated. It's creating a cascading failure in the Krell ship's systems. On the screens, they watched as the Krell fleet suddenly went dark. The massive ships drifted to a stop, their weapon systems and engines completely disabled. It worked, Allison whispered in amazement. It actually worked. Captain Howard, report. Admiral Foster called. Captain Howard, do you copy? Silence answered her. Hours passed as rescue ships searched for Greg's vessel. The Krell fleet remained immobilized, floating silently in space. Then a faint signal was detected. We've found him, reported the rescue team. His ship systems are mostly fried, but life support maintained minimal function. He's alive. Relief washed through the command center. The Krell, unable to move their ships or weapons, finally opened communications. Their commander appeared on screen, a tall figure with gray skin and eyes that seemed to glow with inner light. Who are you that can disable an entire fleet? The Krell commander demanded. Admiral Foster stood tall before the screen. We are humans of Earth. Your weapon is unknown to us, the Krell commander said. How did a primitive species develop such technology? Admiral Foster gestured to Sam, who stepped forward nervously. It wasn't difficult, Sam said, finding confidence as he spoke. Your propulsion systems have a fundamental flaw. We simply exploited it. The Krell commander's eyes narrowed. Impossible. Our technology is perfect. Not quite, Sam replied. The resonance effect is permanent. Any Krell ship entering this solar system will suffer the same fate. You can leave peacefully once we release you, or stay here forever disabled. Your choice. You lie, hissed the Krell commander. No primitive species could defeat the Dominion. Sam shrugged. Yet here we are. Who created this weapon? Demanded the Krell. Just a human engineer, Sam said simply. We tend to handle problems like this. After 3 days of tense negotiations, the Krell agreed to leave Earth's solar system and never return. As their disabled fleet was towed to the edge of the system, they transmitted warnings to their empire about the dangerous species they had encountered. A week later, Greg Howard was well enough to attend the celebration ceremony. Admiral Foster awarded him and Sam the highest honors Earth could bestow. You saved our world, she told them privately after the ceremony. But we need to be ready if other threats come. Sam nodded. I've been thinking about adapting the resonance technology for our ships. If we can create a mobile version, we could explore space more safely. Can you create a version that will allow us to travel safely into Krell space? Asked Admiral Foster. Not to attack, but to understand our neighbors better. Sam looked at Greg, who gave him an encouraging nod. Sam smiled and said, I'll handle it. And in that moment, both the Admiral and the Captain knew that humanity would not only survive, but thrive among the stars. Not through overwhelming force or advanced alien technology, but through the simple, powerful human ability to look at an impossible problem and say with confidence, I'll handle it.